Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stream. Welcome Gallants, welcome Dirty Faces, welcome Kitten Killer, anybody else who's in there, put your name in the chat, tell me what state you're from if you haven't already. You guys missed a good stream Tuesday where we went through my entire bug out bag and my winter supplemental kit, but you can watch it again on Facebook. Actually, you can watch it again on Facebook, YouTube, and X. I thought I took it off one of those, but I didn't. I actually cut it to a shorter version and I put it back on YouTube. I think this morning it went live, super early, or it might have been last night. I don't remember. And then one of them I had someone else schedule. I believe no, X was already on there because it came right from the stream. Tonight we are going to talk about, and I actually wrote down some notes just so I wouldn't get all crazy. We're going to talk about basically the 10 most common mistakes that new preppers sometimes make, and occasionally even preppers that have been around for a long time. It says, Kitten Killer, please refrain from posting Zalgo. I still don't know what Zalgo is. What does that even mean? I got to look that up. My pages are a little out of order here. Streamlabs, I need to be added as moderator in order to remove messages to perform this action. You can do this by clicking, no thank you, Streamlabs, the bot. If I want to add you, I will add you. Hopefully my moderator is on here tonight. Can keep an eye on the chat. I have no idea, again, what Zalgo is, but I guess I'll have to figure it out. All right, we have about 20 people on here now. We'll probably get started. Tahoe Blaze says hello from Washington State. How's it going? David Werner, nice to see you again. At the moment in the state of confusion. Well, that's some of us a lot of the time, unfortunately. I guess it depends on which day it is and what we're doing. Yeah, I almost want to Google Zalgo. You know what? I'm going to Google Zalgo because... Oh, Zalgo's a bot? Is that what you're saying? What is Zalgo? Zalgo text. Nope, that is not. I have no idea. Maybe it is some kind of bot. Maybe they're doing some kind of text through a bot or something like that. Zalgo must be a kid's thing. Speaking of kids, so there's a guy, he might be on here right now watching. The gentleman who commented on one of the video, actually he commented on yesterday's winter bug out bag video and he said, must be an 80s grad like me or something like that. And I had to write him back, sorry man, when the 80s started I was 4 years old. I may look old from the white beard, but I did not graduate in the 80s. By the time the 80s ended I was only 14, so mid 90s, sorry. But damn, I guess I look old. All right, so top 10 mistakes preppers make and how to avoid them. Preparedness obviously is critical, especially, actually it doesn't even matter what you're doing. It could be a natural disaster, it could be fires, flood, earthquakes, tornadoes, could be a whole number of different things. And the reason why I came out with the book that's coming out Tuesday, by the way, Tuesday the 28th of January. Sorry, I only have a picture of the book because I'm not home. And the author's copy, the first one came in, the one that has the little not for resale tag, basically the first one ever printed. So all I have is a picture of it. That's the book. It's kind of hard to see. Anyway, it's coming out Tuesday, and it will be available on Amazon to start, and then eventually it will be, once I can get enough copies in, which I think I can order them tomorrow. It might be a week and a half before they end up on the website, and they may end up going on the TikTok shop as well. Welcome, Twin Arrow Survival. So you guys have probably heard me talk about PACE planning, which is what the book is based on. PACE stands for Primary, Alternate, Contingency, and Emergency. And we talked about a couple streams back when we were talking about natural disasters. Without a PACE plan, you know, sometimes you watch that show, or I don't even think it's on anymore, but if you ever watch Doomsday Preppers, they have some people that are on that show, they have one location, their primary location. That location is stacked with everything you could possibly imagine in some cases. But if they don't have an alternate or a contingency, if they don't have gear spread out to different locations in case they have to move to point A to point B or B to C, and they don't have a PACE plan put together, they could lose all of their preps and everything they've spent possibly decades putting together. very quickly through a wildfire or a flood. If they don't have anything stacked anywhere else or caches en route, they may not even be able to get there. So that's why being prepared is not just critical, but being prepared intelligently is even more critical. Because if you, and like I say all the time, you don't have to have a cabin in the woods, you don't have to own land. You might have a family member that lives in a safer, more rural area, a little bit further away from where you live. You may have one an hour away, you may have one 4 hours away. You may have more than just an alternate in a contingency location. You may have a brother an hour away who could be your first alternate. You may have a cousin that's 3 hours away. Maybe that's your second alternate. Maybe your contingency is, a grandparent or somebody else that's 6 or 7 hours away. You may have multiple different plans before you even hit the emergency plan, which is everything else failed. Twin Arrow Survival says, I lost everything 3 times in a flood. Thank God I've never had a fire. And thank God my preps, so his preps were somewhere else. But imagine if especially if you've spent a ton of money over a long period of time with a bunch of different supplies, and then they all go up in smoke or they all get washed away. You'd have to start all over. And if it was a bigger scenario, like the grid went down and something happened and maybe your house caught on fire and then all your preps are gone, then you're starting with nothing. So the importance of pace planning, I think, can't be overstated. It really, really can't be overstated. And again, I'm not saying you have to, spread load thousands and thousands of dollars at every different location, but try to place things, if you want to do it the cheaper way, go on Amazon and then get some food grade buckets, get some Mylar bags, get some oxygen absorbers, then you don't need to vacuum seal it, and just put rice, pasta, fill up a whole bunch of 5-gallon food grade buckets. It's not going to cost very much money. A lot less money than 25-year shelf life freeze dried food, which yes would be better, but you can do a lot. Salt, sugar, honey, pasta. Honey will be expensive. Rice, whatever you can get in there that is going to last you, up to 20 years plus. Do that and store that stuff. If you want to keep the good stuff where you are, that's fine, and put the cheaper stuff in other places. But that you have a backup plan. Throw some water filters in that plan, some medical gear, and you should be okay. Twin Arrow says, I've been prepped for many years, and I have all my preps in a climate-controlled storage unit. Other than when I keep my homestead, it was horrible. It's not the water that gets you. It's the mold afterwards, yeah, I can imagine. Kid Killer, I've just blocked Streamlabs. Don't think I'll miss anything worth reading. Yeah, probably not. I gotta figure out either how to actually use it or just to take it off and not have it keep showing up as a bot. But yeah, someone else in the stream mentioned before that if you want to have, especially a cache location, if you're in the Northeast and the ground's frozen and you can't get to something that maybe you buried or whatever, you could put it in a storage locker. Obviously, you probably want to put it in an outdoor storage locker, something you'll have better access to if the power went out, just a lock. I'm sure you can get a smaller storage locker. It's going to cost some money, but that's all right. All right, so let's get to mistake number 1. Now, keep in mind, these are not in order. So these are not in order of importance. They're just listed as 10. I didn't take the time. I just got out of work a little while ago. I didn't have time to put these in an actual order that's meaningful, like one's more important than the other. So the first mistake is a lack of a comprehensive plan. So that would be a lack of a pace plan. If you're collecting a bunch of supplies and you're doing a lot of stuff and putting it in one place, that's not really a plan. It's part of a plan, but it's not the whole plan. And it's a dangerous plan. So you definitely want to utilize pace. And the good thing about the book, when it does come out, it goes over, I think there's 37 or 38 chapters. One of them might be a glossary, so technically it's 37 chapters. Streamlabs, I need to be added as much. Shut up, Streamlabs. Stop talking in the chat. You're annoying everybody. Anyway, so the book, and I can go through the chapters at some point before the end of this stream, just so you know what's in it, but it basically covers your core 4, shelter, fire, water, food, and then it goes over land nav, signaling, and a lot more. It basically gives you essentially the framework for pace planning in pretty much everything surrounding preparedness and survival. Just to kind of give you an idea of maybe some areas of your plan that maybe you need to work on, or some things that maybe you didn't think about for some of the contingency or the alternates, things like that. So really, that's number one for dramatic effect. Number two, overpacking and overloading your gear. Heavy bug out bags can really be a problem. And you need to make sure, like they have this standard where they say don't exceed, 20-30% of your body weight for a bag, but that doesn't mean anything. I wouldn't even consider going by that. You need to consider what kind of shape you're in, how long you can walk without carrying weight, how far you can walk with weight. It's really going to depend on each individual person. That's just the way it's going to be. And in the winter, my bag's so heavy with all the supplemental stuff for the winter that I use an ice fishing sled. I said that really strangely. So an ice fishing sled with a nice strap. I have straps I put over the top to hold everything so it doesn't fall off, because you won't hear it fall off in the snow. Or you can use a net. But if you, especially in the spring and summer, you really should have a lighter pack anyway, as long as it covers the Core 4 and a bunch of other stuff, that you may need for navigation and for, whatever you might need communication-wise. Your EDC obviously is going to be on you. Kitten Killer, I'm in Scotland, just gone midnight, expecting a storm tonight, 100-mile-an-hour winds. Damn. That you guys sent here over the Atlantic. I didn't have anything to do with it. I didn't send any winds. Sorry that's going to happen. Man, 100-mile-an-hour winds. That is, that's a lot of wind. All right. So overpacking and overloading your gear. 2 is 1 and 1 is none, but you don't want to have 16 ferro rods in your backpack. 1 ferro rod can last, if you don't go out very often, your whole life. If you're training a lot, maybe it lasts you 6 months. It really depends on how much you're using it. And just really be sure that you're practicing with your bag. There's no way I'd carry my winter bag with all the supplemental gear and anything but the ice fishing sled. I could wear it on my back, but I don't know how many. Maybe I could go a mile or two, but it's just, the pack alone is probably 35 pounds plus the extra gear and the dry bag and the winter clothes and all that kind of stuff. So you really need to make sure that you're not overloading yourself with something that maybe you're not able to handle. And if you have kids, don't overload their packs. Some people are like, I'll keep the main gear. The kids will carry like food, SOS rations. Some of that stuff's heavy. So don't put anything in your kids' pack that you're going to end up having to carry for them, because that could make things exponentially worse. And mistake number 3, which kind of goes with number 2, is ignoring physical fitness. All the gear in the world is not going to help you if you can't carry it. You want to exercise as much as possible. Don't try to get big muscles. Really work more on functional strength, endurance, flexibility, things like that. And train with your gear. Train with your gear to simulate scenarios, Figure out, let's say you work 5 miles from home. Do you think if your car broke down that you could get 5 miles with your bug out bag on your back? Try it sometime. See if you can do it. See how difficult it is. Try it. Well, maybe don't try it in the winter. Start off with a shorter distance in the winter. Try it in the summer when it's really hot. Just make sure you have plenty of water. You really want to try to simulate real scenarios. You want to train like you fight. Just like I say all the time, if you're at the range, don't just go to an air conditioning range and just plink at the targets. You want to get a sweat, do some burpees, get your heart rate going, then get to your target and see how well you can perform. Because in a real situation, there's going to be stress. So why not do stress inducement in every time you train in anything? That's the way it should be. If you're not doing that, you're not going to know what it's like when it actually happens until it happens. Your heart will be racing. You'll probably have tunnel vision. So you really want to try to train as much as you can to simulate real scenarios. That's, when you take like a TCCC course, they simulate with rubber guns. They simulate actual scenes where someone got shot. There's a lot you do in that, but it really gets you under pressure so that you're learning the techniques under pressure. Because it doesn't make sense just to learn how to put on a tourniquet and give yourself all the time in the world at the comfort of home. Like when my son was younger, I would walk in a room and I'd throw a tourniquet at him all bunched up and say, you just got shot in the leg, put on the tourniquet. And he'd have 30 seconds to do it. If he didn't do it in 30 seconds, 40 seconds is okay, but really, I wanted him to get it on under 30 seconds. And as long as he's practiced and he knows red tab towards heart, if you're doing it on yourself, and he knows where to put it, how far above the wound. If he doesn't know exactly where the bleed is, put it up high and tight, all that kind of stuff. So you just throw little challenges at, you know, your kids or your spouse just to get them used to doing it under duress. It's not real duress, but if you act like a maniac, it can be a lot of duress. There goes the second page. All right, so mistake number 4, neglecting mental health and stress management. So panic can cause poor decisions. If you're panicked, if you're scared, if you have just overwhelmed with what's happening and you haven't planned anything, and you haven't planned for the worst case scenario and hope for the best, that's really going to make decisions you make probably hasty, and you may make decisions that you normally wouldn't make if you were in the right state of mind. So you really need to, if something crazy happens, let's say you're at work and all of a sudden there's a huge, you know, maybe you work in the city and there's a huge riot that starts over a protest or something. Just take it easy, breathe deep, think in your mind, this is my plan, this is how I get to my vehicle, this is what I do if I can't get to my vehicle, this is where my go bag is, this is what I have on me for EDC. Just try to think through everything and, you know, just try to stay calm. And then the same thing is simulating real. Conduct drills to build confidence. Conduct drills where, you know, like if you're not doing fire drills at your house, especially if you have a house with a bunch of people in it, you should be doing fire drills. You know, teach people where to meet you if the house is on fire, the best ways to get out, get low, avoid the smoke, stuff like that. But you can do that with almost anything. Earthquake drills, if you're living in an earthquake prone area. Drills if there's a flood, what to do, like don't go up in the attic if everything's flooding, because you may get trapped up there and you'll drown in your own attic. You don't have any way to get out of there, and if the water comes up too far, you're not going to be able to swim back down, stuff like that. You want to drill this kind of stuff. You want to make sure your family understands, if there's a flood, here's what we do. If there's a fire, here's what we do, here's where we meet. If there's an earthquake, this is where you stand, and this is the safest part of the structure in the house. If there's a tornado, you know, this is where we're getting to the shelter, things like that. But you want to have a plan, and you want to make sure that plan is rehearsed. And you want to rehearse that with your entire family. Number 5, failing to rotate supplies. So I put a video out earlier that was actually a repost. I have 55-gallon food-grade drums that you can get on Facebook Marketplace, mostly from restaurants. Just make sure that if they don't wash them out, that you pressure wash them out. And make sure they never had any type of chemicals. A lot of the time, they'll have 55-gallon drums of, like, you know, salad dressing and things like that, mayonnaise. A lot of that stuff comes in some pretty big barrels. But I keep that in storage. I keep 4 or 5, I don't remember how many exactly, but I have a lot of water in storage. At first, I used to put bleach in. If you measure the right amount of bleach, usually it's good for about 5 years. But if you have filters and filter systems, even, you know, standard filters like the Grail or the Sawyer or the Practical Survival Straw, whatever you have, you don't have to worry about treating it or worry if, hey, has it been 5 years? Was I supposed to retreat this? Should I put the bleach in again? Maybe you put in too much. Just use filters. You can do that. It's not that big of a deal. Because somebody had commented and said, hey, make sure you put some bleach in that. But in the video, I said, if you're not going to treat it, use filters. I've had those barrels for so long, almost 15 years now, I'm just not going to retreat them all the time and then try to remember, you know, like write dates on it or whatever. I'm just going to use filters. It's much easier. But as far as rotating, you know, if you have, let's say you have food in one of your 5-gallon buckets that you bought with the oxygen absorbers. Is it 10 year? Is it 15 year? Is it 20 year? You got to know what you're putting in there and how long it's going to be good for in that package. If it's something that maybe will only go 10 years, you have to write a date on the bucket. No matter what it is, you should write a date. Look up the expiration date if you're storing it properly and write that on the top of the bucket. But make sure if you write the date you put it in, that you put stored such and such a date. And if you decide to put the date that it expires, put expires such and such a date. Just so you don't, you know, a decade from now, you're not like, damn it, was that the date? You know, I don't know exactly what I did here. Or if it's, you know, a year from now and you have a million different buckets in your basement or wherever in your storage, just mark exactly what you're marking so that you remember. So you're going to want to rotate that. The other thing you rotate is, so in my bug out bags, I have SOS emergency rations. They're typically only good for 5 years. Same thing if you had MREs. You're going to want to rotate those. if those end up going bad, it could end up making you sick. Some things don't necessarily expire when they say they do, but do you really want to find out? I wouldn't. So make sure you rotate, especially now when it comes to medical supplies. You really should get a doctor's advice first, but the rumor is, I'm not giving you medical advice, talk to your own doctor, but the rumor is most of the medications, unless when they degrade, they become dangerous, which there are a couple, but most of the rest don't actually have an expiration date. So I'm told. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I've heard that. Just remember. But most of them don't actually expire, according to a lot of people. The government actually did a study, I think, it was a military study. And most of but you really should look it up. You should talk to your doctor. Make sure that what you have, because some of them can turn dangerous when they get too old, but it's only a few, and it's pretty random stuff. So just keep an eye on that. Make sure you're rotating what you need to when it comes to medical supplies, food, and water. And then have a schedule. Put up a schedule somewhere where you know you need to rotate everything out of your bags, or if you are treating your water, if it's 5 years and you get the right water treatment, set it for, 4.5. Still have filters anyway, still be ready to boil it if you need to, but set a schedule. Have some type of a schedule, like if you keep all your stuff in a certain area, have a schedule on the wall. Put a clipboard on the wall. Mark all the information for what you have, where it is, what the dates are, which ones you need to rotate, when you need to rotate them, things like that. And canned goods. So the canned goods, depending on what they are, a lot of them will last 2 to 5 years, sometimes a little bit more. But they also, over time, they lose their nutritional value. So just keep that in mind. If you're storing a lot of canned foods, depending on what they are, you really should do the research to see how long they're actually going to be good in the cans. All right. Number 7. It's kind of weird that we're already on number 7. I hope I didn't throw an extra page away. Wait a minute. Did I? I don't know if I did or not. Well, if I did, you know what? I think I did. Hold on. I might have missed one. Yes, I missed a sentence on the number 5. We didn't number 6. We didn't even do number 6. I'm glad I looked. So 6 is not practicing skills. Now I can throw it. So number 6, regularly practice fire starting, shelter building, navigation, basically anything that you think you may have to do if there's some kind of an event. Like I said, if you're just new to some of this stuff, or if you've been doing fire starting for a long time, if you're awesome at it, great. Are you awesome at it in heavy rain, snow, heavy wind? Just test yourself. Try to get out and test yourself in a whole variety of conditions, because you might be awesome at putting together a tinder bundle, in one way, and then when it's raining and you have to start getting your tinder from the trees, do you know which trees are going to work better? Are you going to use white birch, yellow birch? There's a whole bunch of different trees, depending on which area you live in, that are going to be better, especially in the winter, because everything on the ground, of course, is usually snow covered. But there's a lot of tinder sources above. All you got to do is look up. And I don't mean just branches. That's more of kindling. That's not really tinder. But if in the winter, if you find a cedar tree, you can use the back of your saw or the back of your knife, and you can scrape some super fine tinder. Hopefully you carry some tinder with you just as a backup. And then you can start a fire with slightly bigger kindling, and you don't have to necessarily make a bird's nest if you do it right and have the right supplies. But you really should be practicing that stuff as much as possible. And try to get live training. If you don't want to put the money into live training, do the online training. Survival Summit, we have a crap ton of online training. And we just brought back our monthly subscription. It's $19.95 a month. You could sign up for a month, watch 40 hours of our films and another 30-something hours of webinars that talk about all kinds of other stuff. And you could just cram it all in a month and then dip out, cancel your subscription. You don't have to stay for the whole year. Or you can keep it as long as you want. No one's ever going to question you if you decide to dip out. I'm thinking, and I don't know if I'm going to do this yet. Kitten Killer, good night, guys. Thanks for the advice. Have a good night. Thanks for coming in. I might be on this weekend, but I might actually be streaming on TikTok on the weekend, because I don't really do the full streams on the weekend. So I might be streaming on TikTok Saturday and or Sunday. I haven't decided yet, but I'll definitely be back here in the simulcast on YouTube, Facebook, and X on Tuesday of next week. Now I completely forgot about what I was even talking about. Oh, so what I might do for the subscription on the Survival Summit, you can do it by the month or you can do it by the year. I'm thinking I may give away one of the books if you sign up, either for a month or for the year. I'm still deciding, but I might give one of the books away for free, which basically covers the cost of your first month. Then you get to watch all of our content pretty much for free because you basically paid for the book. And you get 15% off our website automatically on everything, literally everything, including films. And you have access to all the online streaming that we offer. So it's a pretty good deal, and I'm pretty sure I'm probably going to do that but when the books go on sale on Amazon, they'll probably be on there for a week and a half before I'm even able to get enough copies to sell on the website. So we'll have to see how that goes. All right, let's see. So training, whether it's online or live, you definitely want to try to get live training at some point as soon as you can. But you can learn a lot doing online training. You don't even have to just do a chapter and practice. Learn one skill from one chapter, then go out and practice it a few times. Come back and forth, just do it over time. Do it, where you're comfortable. Don't try to overload yourself with too many skills right out of the gate. It's just crazy. Nishka, I hope I'm saying that right, says that's a good deal. I mean, I think so, because like I said, you're basically going to pay, because the book's actually going to be $24.95, and I don't know if it's going to go on sale initially on Amazon, but the Kindle's only $9.99. So technically you could buy the Kindle version on Amazon for $9.99. And actually you can pre-order that now on Amazon. It's called Pace Planning, Your Guide to Emergency Preparedness and Bug Out Strategies. But when you pre-order the Kindle on Amazon, just remember, they're not going to give you access to the Kindle until Tuesday because it doesn't actually get released until Tuesday. Oh, I did say it right. All right, perfect. So if you pre-order the Kindle, it's $10, $9.99. A lot cheaper than the $24.95 for the paperback. I think at some point I'm probably going to format a hardcover, but I need to see how sales do first before I get a hardcover made, just in case. I don't want to put all that time and effort in and then not a lot of people buy the book and I'm like, damn it, why did I make a hardcover? That was kind of stupid. But yeah, Tuesday, everything will be released, the softcover as well as the Kindle. I just don't know for sure. I think I have to wait until tomorrow before I can order the author's copies. So I'm probably going to start off with at least a couple hundred, but it could be up to 2 weeks, potentially, unless I can pay for faster shipping, to be able to launch that deal if I give away a free book when you sign up for a subscription. And again, no one's going to email you if you sign up for the subscription, you get the book sent to you, you watch all the films, and then you dip out and you don't ever come back. No one's going to say anything. We don't keep track of that. Eventually, occasionally we'll go through and see who's still a subscriber and who's not, but it's not something that we ever reach out and say, hey man, come back. This is not what we do. We probably should retarget people who do dip out of the subscription, but what's the point? You get enough emails as it is. We're not going to bother you with stuff like that. And some people say that 40 to 50% of a lot of preppers admit they've never tested their real survival skills in a scenario. They've never gone out in inclement weather, and that's a lot of people. And I don't think that's just preppers. I think that's a lot of people who are into preparedness that just don't test the skills. They don't some people don't even field test the gear. There's a lot of people that'll go out and buy, $3,000 worth of survival gear in all different categories, and they have never even tried it out, never once even tested it. Some of the stuff they buy, they don't even know if it's going to work well. So it's risky. All right, number 7, relying too heavily on technology. So yes, I agree that you shouldn't rely too heavily on technology like GPS, smartphones, other gadgets that can fail. You definitely need to learn skills like, map reading, compass navigation, fire starting, all kinds of stuff. Yes, you want your primary and your fire plan to be a lighter because a lighter is super easy, super simple. But your alternate, maybe that stormproof matches your contingency, maybe it's a ferro rod. Your emergency is, I'm going to build a bow drill. But don't rely on the lighter because even good lighters, even Bic lighters that are in waterproof and crush-proof cases, they still run out of fluid. The flint can still break. There's a lot of issues that can happen. Now, I use a power bank, a solar-powered power bank, to power my GPS, my satellite phone, my satellite messenger, my spare cell phone where I have a USB thumb drive that I have thousands of survival manuals on, so I don't need to carry books in different locations. I can have a setup, and I have all that in Faraday bags, so it's protected if there ever is some type of high altitude EMP, just as a backup plan. Obviously, you're not going to put your main cell phone in there. I have a video that talks about all that in one of the past streams, and I may do that stream again at some point. So I'm really big on technology, even flashlights that can recharge right in the light with the 18650 batteries. But the point is, don't solely rely on technology. If you're protecting everything in cases or in Faraday bags or EMP bags, and you have solar powered backup power to charge everything, that's awesome. But what if your GPS fails? What if it stops working one day? I mean, technology isn't going to last forever. What happens then if you don't have any map reading skills? You don't have a topo map of the area that you're in. You don't even have a street map. You don't know how to read a compass. It's not going to help you. Any of that technology can fail. Even the satellite phone and satellite messenger or two-way radios, ham radios. What if your radio breaks? What if you don't have a backup? There's just too many things that you have to rely on when it comes to technology. So it's okay to have the technology, but you want to have the PACE plan. What's your backup? If your communications, if your primary is your cell phone, which it should be, I don't imagine very many people have a landline anymore. What's your alternate? Is it a satellite phone or is it satellite messenger? What's your contingency? Is it a ham radio? Or maybe you have two. Maybe your other contingency is two-way radio. Maybe it's CB in the truck. Who knows? What's your emergency? You got to think about stuff like that. And you really have to think about that PACE plan in every single category: fire, water, food, shelter, land nav, signaling, winter supplemental gear, EDC, personal protection. There's just so much that you really should be going through. But the main point of mistake number 7 is don't rely on that technology. Have a backup and have the training to know that you can live without that technology. Because if you can't, you're up Schitt's Creek. Mistake number 8, neglecting water sources. So that's a big one. A lot of people underestimate what they need as far as water. You should be storing at least a gallon of water per person per day. That is essentially, oh, sorry. All right, that did suck. That one landed on me. The Highlands, hi from the Highlands of Scotland. Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. And you really want, some people say you need a 3-day minimum supply, but you want more than that. And keep in mind, too, if you need water for a lot of different things. Maybe you need water to wash dishes and clothes, but more importantly, you need water to drink. You want to make sure that you keep bathed. You want to keep things sanitary because you don't want to get sick, bring back weird diseases or foodborne illnesses, things like that. So you really need to be careful that you have enough water stored. So sometimes it can be difficult if you're in, a small apartment or a condo, or you're somewhere where you don't have a lot of space. If you've ever seen a New York City apartment, they are tiny. So you might want to get those collapsible, bricks or something. Get one of those water containers that you can fill up your bathtub and fill it in the event of an emergency. Just remember, if you're going to use your pool as a backup source of water, I don't think there's a filter on the market where you're going to be able to get the chlorine or the chemicals out of that. There may be some, but maybe you have to build a solar still to use a lot of that water. Maybe you don't. There's really a lot of factors that are involved with that. Just be careful with pool water. And they always say, same thing, 3 minutes without air, 3 hours. Yeah, 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without shelter, depending on what the situation is. There's variables, of course, to all of that. 3 days without water. Not that you can't live for more than 3 days without water, because people have done it. Some people have lived 7-8 days before they ended up dying without water. And they say 3 weeks without food. But the thing with the water is, and I say this quite often, if you don't have electrolytes, you may not last very long, even if you're drinking water for 2 weeks straight and you have no food. Without electrolytes, you're still going to have some medical problems, and you still may die. So learn how to get electrolytes from nature, pine sap, dandelion greens, stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of stuff out there you can learn. Or carry some electrolyte powder in your bug out bag. That's what I do. I get a cheap canister on Amazon. It's like 30 bucks, 60 servings. I put it in little plastic bottles. I also bought on Amazon, and I keep it in every pack. So just keep that in mind. Electrolytes are very important. And the whole food for 3 weeks thing is, if you're expending a lot of calories, especially if you're on the move or you're building shelter or you're doing a lot of things that are going to expend calories, you could be pretty worn down and pretty useless in a couple days without food. So you won't be doing very much. And it depends on your health. There's a lot involved. The factors are different for everybody. South Florida, aka Doug, good evening. Welcome to the stream. All right, so mistake number 9, overlooking community and teamwork. So the lone wolf survivor, there's a lot of lone wolves on the internet. They're all over the place. They're always making comments about what they're going to do, and they're just going to come take all your gear, and they're just going to live in a bunker, and they're going to, dig holes in the ground. Yes, there are some people like that exist, but most of the time when you see people online talking like that, they're not. They're not what they say they are. Because if they were, they wouldn't be online talking about it. It just seems like bravado most of the time. Not saying it's not possible, but I just laugh when I see comments like that, because a lot of the time it's just people talking shit. That's all it is. But trying to be a lone wolf is difficult. It's very difficult. And if you have family, how are you going to be a lone wolf unless you're just going to ditch the family? Tahoe Blaze, I work with firefighters and have seen people get sick from only drinking water without electrolytes. Yeah, you definitely can. You're flushing a lot of nutrients and things out of your system, especially if you can overdrink water. I think they had a radio contest once where they were trying to see if someone could drink, multiple gallons or whatever of water, and they drank so much water, it actually killed them. So it can happen. You definitely have to have electrolytes for sure. So the lone wolf, you really want to try to avoid it. You really want to try to build relationships with like-minded people, try to do training with people, even if it's just family and very close friends. Obviously, you don't want to just set up with a bunch of strangers that you don't know. But at some point, if you find a local prepper or survival group in your area where you guys can share skills, basically just support each other, especially if it's in your own neighborhood. If you can get a good system in your own neighborhood, you may live rural, you may have an alternate or a contingency idea of where you're going to go, but you may still be able to stay there. You may not ever have to leave your primary location. They call it bugging out. But if you have to move from point A to point B, you're still bugging in when you get to that alternate location or you get to that contingency. So the whole bug out thing is kind of not really how it is. A lot of what you see is I put on my pack and I go off into the wilderness. No, that's not. That should be the last drop dead option. That's the E in your emergency. That means your contingency, your alternates, they all failed. Everything went to shit and you have no other option. That's what happens when you see that. So really, you just want to try to, and not only have a group, but try to have a diverse group. If you live in a neighborhood and you know your neighbors and you're pretty close, try to figure out who's there. Do you have any doctors? Do you have any nurses? Do you have any other medical professionals in that neighborhood around where you live? Is there anybody that has training with firearms? Do they even have firearms? Are they doing any type of preparing whatsoever? You just want to try to set up some kind of a community where you can help each other, because in a large scale event, it's going to be tough to do it on your own, even with a few people. Very tough. How are you going to provide 360-degree, 24/7 protection? It can take a roving gang of 10, 15, 20 people it could take a couple people to throw a Molotov cocktail and burn you out of your house, burn down all your supplies and force you out. Anything can happen. So you really need to think about trying to have people on your team that can help. Because especially in a big grid down type of event or something else that's, really affecting the entire country and shutting down government services, you need to have a better plan than just, I'm going to go here and I'm just going to hope for the best. Try to get a community together if you can. And the 10th mistake, focusing, and this is definitely not number 10 in the rankings. This is just, like I said, I didn't put this in any specific order, but this is a very, very important one. Focusing too much on gear and not enough on knowledge. So if you're going to spend, all right, just like if you go out and you buy a $3,000 rifle with optics, that are insane, and everything about the rifle is amazing, but you don't ever go get a lesson or take a carbine course, or some people that buy stuff like that, sometimes they don't even know how to zero the weapon. They don't know much about it. They don't know how to break it down, to clean it. You'd be shocked. So if you're going to buy a very, very expensive weapon, get a lot of training. Spend $500 on your first firearm and then get $1,000 worth of training. Once you get good, once you get proficient, start spending more money. I'm not saying you shouldn't go buy a really, really nice rifle or a really nice pistol, but don't ignore training. Just don't do it, because what's the point of having expensive tools and gear without the knowledge how to use them effectively and be good at it? Like I talked about in the stream on Tuesday, some people are also under the impression that if they own a pistol, nobody's going to take them down. Bullshit. You get in that to me shows me that they've never been in any real physical struggles with people, because a lot of the times when that happens, it's pretty close range, pretty close quarters. And there's 20 feet or less, you have to be pretty far away to be able to clear leather on your holster. If someone's rushing you with a knife or another weapon, or even just their fist, you really need to be careful, because if you don't know how to fight, if you have no grappling skills, if you have no skills on your feet, they might take your weapon away from you. So that whole "I'll just shoot him," that's nonsense. Complete nonsense. Even if someone's within 10 feet of you and something happens and things start to go crazy, what happens if they rush you? You really think you can clear leather that fast and get off a shot? And even if you do, can you get off enough shots in enough vital areas to actually take them down before, especially if they have a knife, before they stab you in the neck? Probably not. There's plenty of videos you could watch where professionals will have people 10 feet away, 15 feet away, 20 feet away, and they have someone with some type of blade rush them, and maybe they have a paintball gun. There's a lot of stuff out there where they've tested all this. And to close that distance, not that hard. You really need to think about that. That whole "I'm just going to shoot him," complete nonsense. Unless you're an extreme badass, it's probably not going to happen. So don't just learn how to use self-defense tools. Learn how to use your body for self-defense. Take jiu-jitsu, take wrestling, take anything. Most of the confrontations and issues, they always tend to go to the ground. If you don't know how to fight on the ground, then what good is it if you can knock someone out? It doesn't mean anything, because that person may just be able to choke you out in a matter of seconds. So do not skimp on training. And don't focus too much on gear. Worry much more about training before you ever worry about gear. Hey, Heather Lee, how's it going? Heather. Everybody's late. Heather, you are the one who came last. I'm just kidding. I'm sure you had a lot of better things to do, so don't worry about it. But I'm glad you're here. I'm glad everybody's here. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. And I'm not saying don't get a ton of gear, but don't just focus on gear. Please focus on training. Don't go out and buy 17 different fire starters and you haven't even tried to use one of them yet. Just don't do it. Figure out what your primary is, your alternate, your contingency, and your emergency. Get what you need, one item for each of those. The skills for E, which is emergency, which is usually building like a bow drill or something else that you have to do primitively. I mean, what's it going to cost you to put together a fire kit? A Bic lighter, stormproof matches, and a ferro rod? What, $20? You could even buy a cheaper ferro rod. Sometimes they're not as soft, they don't work quite as well, but they're still going to work, especially if you know how to use it. It's not going to cost very much. And you know what it costs you to do the training? Nothing. Even if you don't want to go on Survival Summit and get the training that's a little more formal and brings you through a lot more strategically, go on YouTube and watch guys that have huge followings that are known to be really good instructors. Learn a skill from one of their videos, go out and practice that. You can do that for free. You don't have to spend any money at all if you don't want to. I think structured training is better, and I think you're going to learn more. You're going to learn more quickly, but you're still going to learn off of free YouTube videos as long as you're not watching some fool and they're giving you really shitty advice and you're starting to train in ways that don't make any sense. There's some guys with big channels that I wouldn't want to train with them, because some of them they do some hokey shit. So you need to watch out for that. Just do a little research. Make sure they're trustable first. So, spend some money in training courses, spend some money on live training, spend some money on books, you know, get the ebooks, put them on a USB thumb drive, and you can use them on your phone, you can use them on your iPad, your laptop. You can even plug a USB into a lot of smart TVs and watch it on there. There's plenty of ways to do it. Just it doesn't seem like a lot of people want to actually do the training. They just want the gear. Because I think in their mind, I think a lot of the times it's, hey, you know what? I have 4 different fire starters. I got my pace plan covered for fire. So, you know, I'll be fine. I'll figure it out. Well, no. Here's an example, and I hope she's not watching. I'm not going to say who she is. But I sent an individual a brand new ferro rod, and I think I even sent a knife with it. And I asked her to, you know, train with it. Make sure you scrape off the black coating, you know, learn how to get some good strikes from the ferro rod and get some good tinder and, you know, maybe make a video and kind of, you know, show me what you did. Well, the problem was she was starting to get some decent sparks from the ferro rod, but she didn't know which tinder to use, and there was nothing fine enough for a spark to actually light. It just did not work. And it was, if she had been in a situation where she needed that fire to stay alive or to boil water to stay alive or to keep from freezing, she never would have been able to start that fire with that ferro rod. And if it had been raining or her lighter got damaged and her lighter didn't work, what if she didn't have the stormproof matches? And even if she did, if she didn't make that fire correctly or the weather was bad, it's going to go out anyway. So you'd hate to die with good gear because you don't know how to use it and you don't know how to do it, not just build a fire and have the right tinder, but if you don't know how to do it in the right weather, it's not going to matter how good you are when it's nice outside, because when you need it the most, you may not be able to do it. So just keep that in mind. Training is very important. And remember, knowledge weighs nothing. So you don't have to carry knowledge on your back. You just got to keep it up in the noggin. And you got to practice as much as you can. So those are basically that's my list of what I think are some of the common mistakes that are made by not just new preppers. There's a lot of preppers that have been around for a very long time. And you probably know who some of them are that have a lot of those same mistakes that they make. Some of us make some of those mistakes. Maybe not all the time, but maybe we make some of those mistakes on occasion. Maybe we don't have enough time. We don't get out as much. We're not practicing as much. You know, I make a lot of content videos and I have my son in some of them. So we're always doing something, even when we don't have time to go out and actually, you know, spend a week or spend a few days in the middle of nowhere. I have a full-time job and sometimes I'm working 7 days a week, 11 hours a day. And then on the weekends, you know, I want to spend time with the family, take my son to boxing, go to church on Sunday. There's not always a lot of time. Believe me, I get it. I know how it is. But try to make time. At least try to do, you know, one thing a week. Anything. Just something to kind of keep you going. And put a list together. Put a list together of what you're good at, what you're not good at, what you need training with, what you don't need training with, what you think you need to do more of. Write it down. Keep a journal. It might help you. It might have you doing more training than you normally would if you're keeping a journal and kind of trying to keep track of, you know, what you want, where you want to be a year from now, where you want to be 6 months from now, things like that. There's some other nonsense I wrote on here at the end, but yeah, kind of nonsense. I don't even know why I wrote it. All right. Anybody have any questions? Anything you want to go over of what we talked about for the 10 mistakes or, you know, somewhat common mistakes? I know all of you are prepared. You must be. At least most of you. And if you're not, and you're not sure, and you think maybe there's some holes in your preparedness game as far as your pace plan, on Tuesday, you can pick up the book, and you can go through everything. I even have the full gear list listed in there, not with links or anything, but I have the whole gear list listed in there. I have a couple sections that you can put what you have for gear. There's a whole bunch of different columns. There's a lot of good stuff in there, and it's 270 pages. There are no pictures in the inside. Why? Well, one, I'm lazy. I didn't feel like finding a bunch of pictures and putting them in there. But two, I didn't want it to be, you know, 30 extra pages just for pictures. It's not like the book is not telling you how to start a fire, or telling you how to build a tinder bundle. There's plenty of, real wilderness instructors that'll teach you that stuff. Plenty of books where you can learn the actual skills. This book is the framework, and it's all about pace planning. So it's essentially going over, now's a good time for me to go through the chapters so I can tell you guys what's in it. I may even give one away in one of these streams at some point once I get some in stock. You know what I might do is I might give away one of the copies that says not for resale. I think I had 2 or 3 that were the very first versions ever printed, and they literally have written on them not for resale. Maybe I'll give one of those away. Because what if it becomes popular in a decade from now? You'd be like, I have the first one ever printed, or one of the first 3 ever printed. And maybe I'll write something in them or something. Not that it will mean anything, but... All right, let me see. I got to find where the hell I put this. I know I have it on here because I was looking through it the other day. You know what? I might have to go on my email and grab it. Give me a second. I may not have kept the file on here after it got uploaded, but it is definitely in my email. I know that for sure. Here we go. I found it. Thanks, David Werner. I appreciate it. David says I would want one even if it won't become popular or famous. And it probably won't, and that's perfectly fine. And if I buy a bunch of stock for myself, other than the ones that are on Amazon that are basically printed on demand, then I'll just give them away to friends and family, or I'll just keep them, and who knows. All right, so chapter 1 of the book talks about understanding pace and the importance of preparedness. Chapter 2 is introducing pace planning to core human needs. So that would be shelter, fire, water, food. And then mastering shelter in pace planning is a chapter that's by itself, but there's another chapter number 4, that's practical survival shelters, like building, crafts, supplies. So there's a little bit more in shelter because I think it's a very important one, especially if you live in areas where it gets really cold. Chapter 5 is the vital role of water. Chapter 6 is the role of food. Chapter 7 is the crucial role of fire. 8 is the importance of caches. 9 is land navigation. 10 is the lifeline of emergency signaling. 11 is preparing for medical emergencies. 12 is ensuring access to essential medications. 13 is the role of self-defense in survival. 14 is the importance of winter gear in survival. 15, balancing weight and mobility. 16 is adapting to harsh conditions. That chapter is more specifically to, some more arid, dry, hot climates. 17 is building awareness and tracking progress. So section 1 of chapter 17 is the gear assessment. Section 2 is notes and reflections based on your assessments of your gear and what you have set up. Chapter 18 is pace planning for families. Chapter 19 is pace planning for elderly or disabled family members. Chapter 20 is pace options for managing major medical ailments. Chapter 21 is security and pace planning, protecting yourself and your resources. Chapter 22 is the gray man theory in survival and preparedness. The gray man theory is often misunderstood in the preparedness industry. We won't get into that again. I talked about it before, but you'll read about it in the book if you get it. Chapter 23, the importance of family, community, and groups in preparedness. Chapter 14 is basically morale and entertainment, trying to maintain sanity in a survival scenario, especially if you have children. You need to keep them calm, you need to keep them busy, and you just don't want things to get too hairy. Chapter 25, escape and evasion tools and techniques. Chapter 26 is situational awareness. Chapter 27 is logistics and transportation in a survival scenario. Chapter 28 is financial preparedness for survival. Chapter 29 is long-term preparedness. Chapter 30 is specialty environments. Chapter 31 is emergency communication. Chapter 32 is redundancy in knowledge and skills. Chapter 33 is specialized scenarios in survival planning. That could be, nuclear attack. It's more specialized stuff that's sometimes a little bit more out of the ordinary. Chapter 34, legal and ethical considerations in survival scenarios. Chapter 35 is the importance in faith of faith in God during survival scenarios. If you are someone who does believe in God, that's going to be something big for you to keep you sane. Chapter 36, Advanced Training for Survival Preparedness. All right, so I lied. There's only 36 actual content chapters. 37 is acknowledgments and thank you, and 38 is the glossary. So I probably need to rewrite the description to show it as 36 chapters because the last two aren't really chapters. All right, let me get back to the chat since I can't see it. Oh, Streamlabs again? Heather Lee, please refrain from sending long messages. Why? Why can't we put long messages? What the hell are we supposed to do? I got to figure out this. I got to get Streamlabs out of here somehow. Heather says, I'm waiting to purchase that when it's on Survival Summit website. I'd rather purchase it direct from you. What's the timeline on that? I just don't know. If I'm able to order the author's copies tomorrow, it could be a week and a half, as long as 2 weeks potentially. But just remember, even if you do buy it on Amazon, I make less money, but you're still buying it from me. It's not, unless another, distributor picks it up and sells it through Amazon. The Amazon sales are actually strictly through me. It's not nearly as much of a percentage, but I don't care about that. I'd rather people get it wherever they can, as cheap as they can, and get the knowledge more than anything. It's not important where the margin, where I make more money. If I wanted to do that, I wouldn't even release it on Amazon on the 28th. I'd release it on Amazon after I release it on my own website, because my margin is way higher on my own website based on what it cost me to get the books. So if I really wanted to be greedy, I'd launch it on my website and the TikTok shop, and then I'd launch it on Amazon, or at the same time, and I wouldn't advertise Amazon. But I'm not going to do that. I want to get it out to as many people as possible. So if more people buy it, or more people get a chance and they do it because they got it on Amazon and they get it faster shipping, all the power to them. It's fine. Maybe I'll sell more on there and maybe it'll equal itself out. Maybe I won't, but I don't really care about that. Of course I want it to be successful, so it's not like I don't care, but all right, let's see. No Streamlabs. I'm not going to add you as a moderator. Get the hell out of here. David Werner said it right. Streamlabs, you are annoying, redundant, and frivolous. That is 3 strikes. Jesse, I need to know if I have the courage to ban Streamlabs. Please have me as a moderator. Thomas the moderator, are you in here? Is my moderator actually in here? I would like you to ban Streamlabs, and if you don't, I will figure out how to do it. Oh, you know what? I actually think there's a setting. If I log in, all right, I'm going to do this real quick. I won't be able to see your comments, but I'm going to log into Streamlabs on the, let's see, on the computer through the browser. And, whoops, no, don't do that. I don't want to screw up the stream either, but hold on a second. Why can't I do that? Hold on. I may have to do this after, but I think there's a setting in Streamlabs that I can actually set to get Streamlabs to get out of here. But I don't want to mess with it in the settings, because if somehow I turn off the stream or I hit the wrong button, I don't want to do that. But I'll do it after. I will try to make Streamlabs, the bot, disappear, because you should be able to write a comment as long as you want without having to put in like 5 different paragraphs. So Streamlabs, you're going bye-bye after today. You've annoyed everyone. You've annoyed the entire stream. Are you proud of yourself, Streamlabs? You bastard. Oh, so I feel bad if I don't mention it because my son wrote it. If you haven't seen the book, Called by Name, I can't get it to focus. Called by Name, A Teen's Journey to Faith. My son wrote this book. It's not that long. It's not a very long read. I think there's like 19 or 20 chapters. It's probably 112-ish pages. But if you have young adults in your life or teenagers and you want them to learn more about God and about faith, then check out the book Called by Name. It's available on Amazon. There is a link in the bio. Local Prepper, fix it later, man. It'll be fine. There are only 10 watchers. No, we got 15 between all the 3 channels. between YouTube, X, and Facebook. Looks like we have 15. We did have close to 30 earlier, but some of them dropped off. We could have a few more if I did it on Instagram, but I don't like doing it on Instagram because one, in Streamlabs OBS, you can't see the multi-chat. Or sorry, you can't see the chat from Instagram in the multi-stream chat on Streamlabs. But I can see everybody else. I can see X, Facebook, and YouTube, but for whatever reason, you can't see Instagram. And Instagram shrinks the screen to like this big, so it's kind of annoying. What's up, Kurt? Kurt Baumgardner, watching it. What's up from Jacksonville, Florida? I gotta get to Florida one of these days. My ex-videographer lives in, what the hell town does he live in? I think it's west of Orlando. I can't remember Apopka. And I lived in Palm Beach Gardens for a while. I miss Florida a little bit. Don't really miss the summers. When I was there, I had a old school car that the AC broke. And I used to have to wear a shirt and tie back then for my job, and it sucked getting stuck in traffic with no AC in the middle of the summer. Kurt says, you know what I can see? You know what I can see, and I don't know how good my eyesight is, but it looks like Top Sniff in the background. That's a very adorable knife. Oh, it is actually a Tops knife. It was made specifically for a company called Perseverance Survival. They're actually the company that first came out with the Whoopee hoodie. So if you know what a Whoopee is, it's basically a poncho liner, and they came out with, I believe they were the first that came out with the Whoopee hoodie. And then a couple other companies came out. They made some changes on the wrist, and everybody kind of jumped on the Whoopee train because I don't think it was something that they could trademark or whatever. They couldn't do that, so a lot of other companies kind of took the idea and ran with it. But the originals, I think he still sells them. So this one was made for Perseverance Survival. I think it was back in 2015 or sometime between 2015 and 2017. And unfortunately, he only made one run. The run, I think, was for 100 or 150 knives, and I don't think he ever made another one. He made a lot of really good escape and evasion gear as well, but he just kind of stuck to the Whoopee hoodie. I think he was very busy. He's an officer in the Marine Corps, so he really didn't have a lot of time, I think, to do things the way he wanted to, but it's too bad because this knife is a really, really excellent knife. It's one of my favorites. It's got a really super amazing 90-degree spine, so it's perfect to use the back of it to scrape shavings off certain trees, and it's also amazing, really amazing for ferro rod strikes. Sometimes if you have a knife and here's a good tip for you, if you have a knife, like let's say you have one of those cheaper Mora knives that's like $10, $15 knife, they don't always have a 90-degree spine. So if you try to strike a ferro rod with one of those cheap knives and their edge is round and it's not perfectly 90'd out, you're not going to get sparks. You might get really pissed off, but it's because of the spine. So either use the striker that came with your ferro rod or use the back of the knife if you have a nice 90-degree sharp spine. Like the Mora Garberg Carbon Black that is one of my favorites, and this one, these spines are amazing for striking a ferro rod. So just keep that in mind. David says, watch out, Kirk. Streamlabs is stalking you. I think if he would have put one more sentence in that paragraph, Streamlabs would have been saying something. I will ban Streamlabs. I will get him off the stream for next time. If I don't, I want to hear about it in the chat. I want everybody to come in here and tell me I didn't do my job properly and to get that shit out of here. So yes, Tops Knives never sold it on their site. It was only sold through... All right, so when it first came out, it was sold through Perseverance Survival's website, of course. And then I was running Tim Kennedy's company, Sheepdog Response. I think at the time I was only running the e-commerce before I became chief operating officer for the whole thing. And I think we added 30 or 40 or maybe 50 of those knives to the site back then. And they all sold out very quickly. And then he just never made another run, and it was unfortunate. I was hoping he was going to come out with a second version, but it just never happened. Anyway, what are you going to do? All right, anybody have any questions about anything that we talked about tonight? I don't mind staying on for a little longer if anybody has any questions. Tomorrow I'm headed back home. It's about a 5-hour drive. And I think I'm going to be able to leave because I have someone coming in tomorrow and then covering Monday morning, so I'm going to have the whole weekend off. I won't have to drive back up till Monday morning. And I also get to leave by noon tomorrow to go back home. So instead of getting home at 10 or 11 p.m., I will be home maybe 4 or 5. I might even jump on and do a TikTok live, maybe, if I have time. Depends on what happens when I get home. I might have a lot of stuff to do. We will have to wait and see. Oh, I think I missed... Oh, yeah, I missed one of Kurt's comments. Yes, sir, the last couple of summers seemed hotter. Either that or I'm just getting older and I couldn't tell the difference. Heather Lee, are you shit out of luck if you're opting out of weapons? Well, I guess that depends. Yeah, probably. I mean, there's really no good way to put it, because if a lot of other people have weapons and you don't, it's going to be much harder to defend what's yours, to defend your resources, your family, your home. I would at least consider maybe taking a course, getting a little bit of training. I mean, you can opt out of weapons. There's other things you can do. David Warner, hi Jesse, just a quick note to say hi from Ohio. I wish I had more time to say something else, but the time is limited, and I certainly, there goes Streamlabs, giving David shit again. That's terrible. And I certainly don't want to post a very long message and risk trouble. Too late, Streamlabs already got you apparently. But if I never made it a moderator, it can't actually do anything to you. That's why Streamlabs keeps asking me to make it a moderator, because I think it can just warn people, but it can't actually do it. Yeah, see, it just says it right there. I don't know if you guys can see it or if it's just me. It says, at the Survival Summit, I need to be added as a moderator in order to remove messages or perform this action. You can do this by clicking, how about you click this, Streamlabs, because I'm not doing that. So it looks like it's just here, just talking, and it can't actually do anything. Sorry, Streamlabs. You're about to get jumped by this whole stream. Streamlabs says, Heather Lee, please refrain from using foul language. Why, Streamlabs? What are you going to do about it? You can't remove the chat because I didn't give you that permission. So all you can do is talk. Streamlabs is probably infiltrating my computer right now and hacking everything on my system because it's probably AI powered and now it's pissed off. It's becoming a monster. It's going to come after me. That's all right. Bring me what you got, Streamlabs. What are you going to do? What are you going to do, guy? You coming for me? Are you talking to me, Streamlabs? That's not going to work. All right, I do a terrible Italian accent. I take that back. Oh, man. It's been a long week. Actually, my week started... Let's see. What's today? Today's the 23rd. My week started on Sunday, the 12th of January. I drove up 5 hours to get here. And I've worked every day since, 7 days a week, for about 11 to 11 and a half hours each day. And then on Monday, I took a shower. And then on Tuesday, the water froze. And I couldn't take a shower. And the same thing on Wednesday. No, I take that back. No, Wednesday night I think I could take a shower. But Wednesday morning I couldn't. So I hadn't taken a shower until Wednesday night since Monday. Because the water froze. Twice. But it's fixed. We put a vent in to let the air into the sidewall. Because apparently, I think it was at least negative 10 degrees here in Vermont. And they did a little bit of remodeling in the bathroom at one point. And there used to be a vent. And they probably were thinking, what the hell is this vent doing here? Let's get rid of that and just drywall over it. Then everything started to freeze. Now the vent's back. So, look at that. We have 24 people now watching. Now that we've already gone over everything and talked about everything. And we're just pretty much talking smack about Streamlabs, running its face in the chat. Now we got a lot more people watching. Welcome to the stream. If you missed the stream, which I know most of you did because there wasn't that many people before, you can watch it again as soon as it's over. I believe it'll be live on Facebook and YouTube and X. So you can watch it again, and we went through basically the top 10 or 10 of the more common mistakes that new preppers or even preppers who've been doing it for a while, mistakes they have made, or things that they do constantly that they probably shouldn't. And again, Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, January 28th, I think is the date. Yeah, January 28th, this book should be available. Pace Planning. Basically, your framework for pace planning and all things preparedness. It is your guide to emergency preparedness and bug out strategies. $24.95 is what it will be, or you could buy the Kindle for $9.99. That's a hell of a deal. And you can actually pre-order the Kindle now on Amazon. You know what? Maybe I should just drop a link. You can't pre-order the soft cover, so if you don't want to buy the Kindle, you can't pre-order the soft cover for some reason. I was kind of hoping that you could, but you can't. So that one will have to wait. Let me just look this up. You think I would already have it here, but I don't because I'm a slacker. All right, yeah. So if you order the Kindle, if you do pre-order the Kindle, they're still not going to send it to you until the release date of Tuesday. So I actually wanted to change the release date to tomorrow to be Friday, but I can't because it's already set, and I didn't know that. So, whoops. But whatever. Tuesday is usually a good day to release books and films and stuff like that. We used to do that all the time when we release a new instructional film. We'd make it on a Tuesday. So, do the book on a Tuesday. All right, I just dropped a link in there. Streamlabs, if you run your mouth about the link I just dropped, we're going to have a problem. Kurt, did I miss all free watch? Have any helpful information with prep? And I'll share as much as I can. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. So that link right there, that is only the link to the Kindle version that you could pre-order for $9.99 versus $24.95. And then hopefully within 2 weeks or less, it'll be available on my website and probably on the TikTok shop. And when it does go on sale, it'll probably be for like $19.95. Or I may do, I'm pretty sure I'm going to do it, where if you sign up for a monthly subscription on my website to access all of our instructional films as online streaming, $19.95 a month, plus you get 15% off of all gear on our website as long as you're a member. But just remember, if you become a member first, then go shopping for gear. Because if you put your membership and gear in the cart, it won't give you the 15% off because you're not actually a member yet. But I think for members, and I won't do it if you sign up. I'm not going to make you sign up for the whole year to get the book. You can sign up for 1 month for $19.95. Then you'll be able to binge watch all of our instructional training if you choose to. Get your free book, and then you can peace out and you can cancel the subscription at any time. You don't even need to email us. You can literally log into our website, go into the My Account section, and then click Cancel Subscription. It won't cancel it for you immediately. It'll cancel right before it renews. So if you bought it tonight, you'd have to cancel it the day before, at least the day before the 23rd of February, or whatever the 30-day period is when you buy it, and then it'll auto-cancel if you already canceled it on your account. And if somehow it doesn't work, you just email me and tell me you tried to cancel it and you couldn't, and I'll take care of it. So basically, you pay the cost of the book and you get to watch all the instructional training for free for at least a month. You could stick around and hang on to it if you're going to buy gear, especially if you're new and you want to start saving your money and stocking up with gear. For that 15% off, you could spend $110, $120 a month, and that covers your $19.95 a month cost in savings. So you still have access to all the streaming, and you don't have to worry about it, depending on how much gear you get in a given month. So it's a good way to do it. And we offer free shipping on everything, so that works. Streamlabs going after Kirk again. Please refrain from sending long messages. Kurt, don't refrain. You can do whatever you want. Well, not whatever you want, but you can type long messages. Kurt says, all right, Captain, God bless. All the work comes early in the morning. Yeah, me too. I got to be up tomorrow, I believe, at 4:30. God bless. We're going to need Jesus. Please be safe. Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of Jesus, one last plug for my son, who's 15 years old, who came out with this book and wrote it all himself, called by name, A Teen's Journey to Faith. There is a link in my bio. You know what? I'll put a link in the comments too, so you don't have to go find the link in the bio. That's kind of, I don't know why I didn't think of that. And I make no money on this, by the way. My son makes all the profit on this book. I'm not taking money from him. That would be so terrible. And that book will actually be available on the TikTok shop. I think his author copies are coming in on Saturday. So that will be available probably on our website and on TikTok shop, not just Amazon. So I just put that link in. It might take a second to come up. Heather Lee, I have an actual Kindle and then the Kindle app on my phone and a laptop, backup to the backup. Well, then you might want to think about doing the Kindle. Unless you really want the soft cover, then, And I don't think I'm on my website. I don't think I'll be able to sell the electronic version because I think it's technically an Amazon ISBN number, so I don't think I'm allowed to do that. I know I can sell the paperback, but I don't think I can sell the electronic copy. Pretty sure I can't. So my son's book, A Teen's Journey to Faith, Called by Name, is available now. It was available, I think, last week. And soon enough, it'll be on the website and it'll be on the TikTok shop as well. It's cheap. It's like $12.95. I think. Something like that. And I think Kindle's like $7.99 or $6.99 or something like that. I'd have to check. I say that and I could have just looked when I was grabbing the link, but I didn't. I hope that was the right link. Let me just let's see, was it the right link? Yeah, it should have been the right link. All right, I'm good. Local prepper. So what are the 10 mistakes? Well, for dramatic effect, every time I read one off my crib notes, I threw the piece of paper on the floor. So I don't really want to fish them all off the floor. I can try to remember most of them. Or when this stream ends, which will probably be in a few minutes, you can actually go back on to any of the platforms, either YouTube, Facebook, or X, and you can kind of fast forward through and you'll be able to go through all the 10 mistakes again. And you don't have to listen to me blab in between. You can just kind of fast forward till we start talking about the next one. That'd be the better way to do it. I guess maybe the dramatic effect was too much. I should have kept the papers up here, but I probably remember most of them, but I don't want to go over them all again because I probably should get off here soon. I got to get up a little bit earlier tomorrow. Hey, that's all right. Welcome to the stream, Local Prepper. Appreciate it. Where are you from, Local Prepper? Hopefully you didn't already tell me and I forgot. No, I don't think you did. So my website link is in the bio, thesurvivalsummit.com. And I have a link in the bio for a couple other things, like there's a couple products from Practical Survival. They're not on my website, but I'm friends with the guy who runs that company, and he's got some pretty decent stuff. So, but the link to our website is in our bio, and Eastern Shore, Virginia. Welcome from Virginia. My web guy was in Virginia Beach, and he just moved back to North Dakota, where it's very, very cold now. I'm sure he's missing Virginia Beach at this point. All right, if anybody has any more questions, let me know. I'm going to try to get some laundry done before I have to pack up all my stuff, and I got to pack up all my camera equipment and my tripod and take all that stuff back home with me. Although I guess I don't really have to. If I'm only going to stream on TikTok on the weekend, nah, I don't want to leave that stuff up here. It's too nice. Local Prepper, I'm kind of a big deal. Don't you know who I am? Heather Lee says, okay, I'll just state it. Both the books and the Kindles. Damn. All right, that's one way to do it. Yeah, my first book my son ever wrote. I was wondering at one point, because he was always disappearing and writing stuff. I'm like, what is he doing? And then he told me one day, he's like, I'm almost done a book. I'm like, what? You wrote a book? Like, what are you talking about? So, pretty cool. And again, I don't take a dime. I've actually put a little bit of money into Amazon to help him advertise it through the Amazon platform. And don't tell him this because he's probably sleeping already. He might not be listening, but I'm not going to make him pay the advertising money back with his profit. Just going to let him keep the profit. Local Prepper, we need to talk. Look me up. I will check you out. Well, that sounded weird. I will look you up. Just look up Local Prepper. You can always shoot me an email too with more info. Shoot an email to info@thesurvivalsummit.com. Or if you go to the website and go to the contact page, I'm the only one that looks at the emails. So definitely check that out. All right, guys, I'm going to end the stream now. Again, I appreciate everyone being here. And Tuesday when the book comes out, I'll let you know once I have a ship date on the books coming to the website. So if we get that deal going where you sign up to be a subscriber on the website, get access to all the training, the discounts, and you get the book for free. I'm about 99.9% sure I'm going to do that. So once I know exactly what the ship time is, I'll let you know. All right. Have a good night. See you guys on Tuesday. If I don't catch you on